new week will usher in the January 8th celebrations for the ANC, marking the anniversary of its formation. This year's January 8th statement will be delivered at the Peter Mokaba Stadium in Polokwane. It will mark 110 years of the ANC's existence. Now, because of the pandemic, only 2,000 people will be able to attend physically. This will all be happening with a lot of soul-searching for the party, because in just the last year we've seen the suspension of its Secretary General, Ace Magashule. A lot of the party's members, very senior, high-ranking people, are expected to be implicated in some shape or form when the State Capture Commission of Inquiry releases its report in full. It'll come out in 3 volumes. The first is due to be handed over to President Ramaphosa this coming week. Let's talk about all of this then with political analyst Levi Ndoa, who's joining us from Pretoria, the capital. Mr. Ndoa, very good evening to you. Good to have you on the program. So January 8th comes around at the beginning of every year. We hear the ANC president reflect on the year that was and make a new list of promises. How much pressure is on President Ramaphosa this year, not just by the party membership, but also the people of the country? Because ultimately, what's said at January 8th has national implications, doesn't it?
Good evening, Tembekile. Good evening to the viewers at home. Well, I think the ANC is under a lot of pressure as they approach the January 8th statement. The ANC is under pressure because of a number of reasons. The first reason being that the ANC has just come out of the local government elections, wherein the party is not happy about its performance in the elections. There are a number of municipalities which the ANC did not perform well. The ANC did not perform well in Gauteng. The ANC also dropped drastically in KwaZulu-Natal and in other parts of South Africa. Also, at the same time, when the ANC is celebrating its birthday, the president will be having a report, the first part of the report in his office, from the Deputy Justice Raymond Zondo. And we all know that a number of individuals that have been mentioned and implicated at the commission are members of the ANC and at the hierarchy of the party. Also, on the matter that you touched on, the ANC goes to the January 8th statement with a suspended Secretary General. And of course, there are clear indications that there are certain individuals within the party that do not seem to be happy about that. And that will require the national executive of the ANC to be able to clarify such things. Part of the resolutions or the mandate given to the current leadership of the ANC is to ensure that they fight against factionalism within its ranks and ensure that the ANC is united. And unfortunately, the ANC does not seem to have achieved that objective, or they don't seem to have performed well in that regard. So it will also then require the National Executive Committee to come out clear on what has actually been transpiring and provide the line of march to the entire membership.
But how does the National Executive Committee do that, especially when the ANC is now months away from its next national elective conference where new leaders will be chosen? Because what the State Capture Commission is likely to do, depending on who is worst implicated, is deepen those rifts, but also people are now hedging their bets ahead of the conference.
There are things that the ANC cannot avoid. What the ANC cannot avoid is the fact that Raymond Zondo is done or is finalizing his report. Raymond Zondo has to present his report, which is also going to be known to the public. What the ANC, for me, should be looking at now, it's how then do they respond to the report that is coming from Raymond Zondo. There might be those, even though the report has not been released, there's a possibility that some might be implicated or some recommendations will require action to be taken. This, of course, will require the ANC then to be able to say, what do we do best with the report that we have, considering that we need to still have South Africans trusting us, and also at the same time ensuring that we do away with corruption as required by the electorate in South Africa. Also at the same time, the ANC is aware that ordinary citizens on the ground are eagerly waiting for this report, and they will expect the president and those ANC leaders that are in government to act on the report and do what is right. So it will require a lot of soul searching on the part of the ANC, but more importantly, they need to respond positively to the recommendations of the Commission.
Will this be President Ramaphosa then's greatest test as leader of the governing party and leader of the country?
Well, the unfortunate part is that he has to perform both. But remember, when the ANC comes with the January statement, it is also then becomes a build-up to a certain extent to some of the programs that the government is supposed to adopt. So part of the January statement by the ANC has to touch on the progress or on the activities of government. But strictly, when we come to January 8 statement, Ramaphosa should be talking to his branches, to his members about the programs of the ANC. But to a certain extent, there has to be an area where the performance of the ANC in government has to be touched on. And of course, those are some of the areas that President Ramaphosa and this NEC could not avoid talking about. But what is also very, very important is that as he's wearing the cap of being the state president of the Republic, he needs to ensure that after receiving the recommendations, he must do what is expected of him by all South Africans to act on the recommendations and ensure that what is recommended by the Commission is actually being executed in the best interest of South Africa, and indeed to be a sign that South Africa is serious about the fight against corruption.
I want to circle back to the issue of the suspension of the Secretary General, because when it happened, it was a great source of division in the ANC. The battle lines were clearly drawn. There was the pro-Ramaphosa side and the pro-Makashule side. Now we're going to January 8. It has quietened down a bit as far as the conversation around the SG's future. Do you expect it to be resurrected now and in the long term again casting forward to the conference?
Of course, there is indeed some within the ANC who showed displeasure when the Secretary General was suspended. And the unfortunate part is that the ANC has got its own resolutions and agreements, which some within the party feel that they should be implemented. And also at the same time, you have got another grouping within the party that says maybe we should have waited a little bit, or we should have done things differently. And because the ANC leadership has not been able to deal with factionalism and how best they need to implement their resolutions, that is how where we are going to find a situation where the differences between the two groupings seem to be intensifying, and they don't seem to be able to find one another. But as an organization, it's very normal that there are times in which leaders have to take difficult decisions which might please other people, and other people might not be pleased with such decisions.
Okay.
So it's up to the organization itself to be able to operate and live beyond this kind of difficult situations that the ANC is facing today.
We're running out of time, but I want to get your sense of where we can place the Deputy President, David Mabuza, in the unfolding internal dynamics of the ANC in a conference here when the party is 110 years old and trying to regroup, as you were saying, from the losses of the November election.
I did not get that one, Tembekile.
My question to you was, what is the position the role of the Deputy President of the ANC, David Mabuza, in these ever fluid internal dynamics?
Well, I think one would expect the Deputy President to firstly perform his responsibilities of being the Deputy President of the ANC and that of the Republic. But to a certain extent, David Mabuza and all members of the NEC should be seen to be acting towards ensuring that the ANC is united, towards ensuring that the resolutions of the ANC are implemented, and also ensuring that all the different groupings that seem to be drifting apart, they should do their best to bring them together. So all members of the ANC, irrespective of the positions that they occupy, I think for me they've got a very important role to play, which is to ensure that they unite the party and at the same time make the party grow bigger and much stronger.
Levi Ndo, grateful for your time, sir. Political analyst Levi Ndo is speaking to us about the upcoming ANC January 8th celebrations and the statement that will be delivered by the party's president to mark the anniversary of the ANC's founding. Well,